Paris, 9:30 in the morning. The kind of hour that belongs to tourists and school groups, not thieves. And yet, this is when the Louvre gets hit. The first image people remember is not the missing jewels. It is the crown that did not make it out, dropped, crushed, and left behind like a warning. This is not a midnight break-in. It is a daylight operation that lasts minutes, then vanishes into Paris traffic like it never happened. The target is the Apollo Gallery, one of the Louvre's most famous rooms, gilded, theatrical, and full of history that was never meant to leave the building. The jewels in this room are not just expensive, they are culturally radioactive, too famous to sell intact, too recognizable to move quietly, too historically loaded to disappear without the whole world noticing. And that is what makes the heist feel impossible. The thieves do not steal something you can flip. They steal something you cannot explain away. On the 19th of October, 2025, a group arrives outside the museum in a vehicle that looks like it belongs there. Not sleek, not suspicious, practical. They are dressed to blend, high-visibility clothing, the kind your brain automatically categorizes as maintenance. Two of them access an upper level near the Apollo Gallery and force entry through a window. The whole thing happens during opening hours. Inside, they move fast, no wandering, no hesitation. They cut into glass display cases and go straight for selected pieces. Less than 7 minutes for the entire operation, and under 4 minutes inside the gallery itself. That speed tells you this was not luck. It was rehearsal, confidence, and a plan that assumed the first response would be slower than the theft. Alarms sound, security reacts, police are called. But the thieves are already transitioning from theft to escape. In the scramble, one piece of history is dropped. A crown once worn by Empress Eugénie is recovered outside, damaged in the attempt to remove it and in the escape. The crown becomes the symbol because it is tangible proof, something the thieves touched, something the Louvre can show, something investigators can test. 8 other jewel pieces remain missing. Interpol later states that thieves stole 9 items total, and that the crown was recovered while 8 items stayed missing. Interpol publishes an alert and adds the missing jewels to its stolen works of art database, which is designed for exactly this problem. Objects too famous to hide forever. The stolen pieces include items associated with the Napoleonic era and 19th century French royalty, including diadems, necklaces, earrings, and brooches linked to figures like Marie-Louise and Eugénie. If you are wondering why the thieves took these, the answer is not simple money. The answer is leverage. A piece like this is hard to sell, but it can be traded, dismantled, held for ransom, or used as currency in criminal networks. And that possibility changes the mood, because now the question is not who stole them, it is what happens to them next. Within days, the Louvre quietly moves some of its other precious jewels off display and transfers them to the Bank of France vaults under police escort, a sign of how exposed the museum feels after the hit. You can hear the humiliation in the public reaction. Not just a robbery, a national wound. A museum targeted in the open, in front of visitors, in the heart of Paris. Investigators go to work in the way modern cases do. Surveillance footage, forensics, DNA, traces on a display case, traces on a getaway vehicle. The boring tools that destroy glamorous crimes. Prosecutors say DNA found on a display case and a scooter helped connect suspects to the scene. Arrests follow. Reports describe suspects detained, including one arrested at Charles de Gaulle Airport as he appeared to be trying to leave the country. Prosecutors later say to suspects partially admit their role, but the jewels are still not recovered. The most important sentence is the simplest one. The jewels are not in police possession. That gap is where the fear lives, because if the jewels are not recovered quickly, they can be broken down, stones removed, settings destroyed, history converted into components. Officials stress the pieces are effectively unsellable as they are, because everyone knows what they are, and anyone handling them risks criminal exposure. Meanwhile, the Louvre's security problems become part of the story. Police acknowledge shortcomings, aging systems, delayed upgrades, and blind spots that make a modern museum vulnerable in old-fashioned ways. The cruel irony is that the Apollo Gallery is a room built to display power, to make people feel watched by history, yet the thieves find a way to move through it like it is unguarded. The crown itself becomes a secondary crime scene. Reports describe it being deformed and damaged during removal and impact. And by early 2026, the Louvre announces restoration plans. Restoration is a strange kind of aftermath. It is how a nation tries to unbreak what was broken, even when the missing pieces are still gone. But the crown is also a clue. It tells investigators how tight the escape was, how rushed the extraction became, how close the thieves were to leaving with everything. Every heist has a moment where the plan meets friction. For this one, the friction is literally the crown that would not cooperate, the object too awkward to remove cleanly. After the arrests, the story does not end, because solved is not the same as recovered. And recovered is the difference between justice and loss. There is also the question nobody wants to say out loud. Was this commission? Was there a buyer? Or was it simply a crew that believed they could outrun the consequences? Another question hangs over it like fog. How do you hide objects that cannot be shown? The most plausible answer is you do not hide them forever. You change them. That possibility is why Interpol involvement matters. It globalizes the search. It forces the jewels into systems that dealers and auction houses actually look at. It also turns the heist into a different genre. Not just a theft, but a long chase, where the real battle happens months later in quiet places, ports, private rooms, and back channels. If you are watching for a villain's face, you will not get it yet. These cases rarely give you the cinematic reveal. They give you procedure, and then they give you waiting. What you do get is the anatomy of a modern cultural crime: speed, disguise, precision, escape. Then, a long, slow squeeze by forensic science and international scrutiny. And you get the question the Louvre cannot escape. If it can happen here, in the most watched museum on Earth, it can happen anywhere that assumes reputation is protection. The final image I want to leave you with is the Apollo Gallery the day after. Display cases repaired, visitors returning, guards standing straighter, history still on the walls, and somewhere out there, 8 pieces of it missing. If the jewels are recovered, it will probably not be dramatic. It will be a tip, a seizure, a box opened in a back room, a phone call in the night. Until then, this remains one of the cleanest examples of what true crime really is. Not mystery for mystery's sake, but the collision between planning and consequence, and the price of a few minutes when the world blinks.